Just to get started, we just got it in our inbox that Talia just won Freshman of the Week again. I know you've said that being a freshman is really hard, but for her to do it 3 straight weeks now, I guess what's led her to be able to do this?
I think she's taking care of her business. She's doing good in school. She's training right. She's eating right. She's doing those things that give you the chance to do that. I think the basketball part of it's probably the easiest part of being a freshman. The game is hard. Adjusting to the speed is hard, but that's the thing you're most familiar with. So, I think the opportunity to impact your team is where that goes. We got some really good freshmen in this league. You look at who we have in the league. So to get it 3 straight weeks obviously shows her preparation coming into the year, how she attacks each game plan. Proud for her. And I don't think it'll be the last one.
And then, yeah, just moving right into La Tech. I know you played them last year. It's kind of weird to say because they've lost a lot in a row, but it seems like they're playing a lot, like pretty good recently. Just I guess thoughts on what you've seen from them.
Yeah, you can paint a picture of an 0-6 team because their 2 wins are against non-Division I teams if you want to. I think you'd be doing it wrong. Look at who they've played and how those games have gone. They've been very competitive all the way through. They've been competitive, highly competitive in parts of the game. It'll be very dangerous for us to look at the record and not look at the film. Having played them, I think, gives us a sense of athleticism and size and a familiarity. Played them late in the year last year. They're a different team. They've got new pieces just like we do, and some of the pieces that return are in different roles. So there will be a little bit of a comfort level. But, man, if you get too comfortable, you could really catch yourself in trouble. They've played, I think their game with Vanderbilt probably gets our kids' attention, how competitive it was, the final score. They had, I think they had a kid go for 30 points against the La Tech kid have 30. I think Vandy kid had 30. So they'll have our kids' attention for sure. I'm glad that they played that game. And I do think our group, and they've said it from the beginning, and they brought it to my attention, not me taking it to them, that they wanted to take every opponent just like they were LSU, just like they were the defending national champions. So we'll start with that approach today. They were off yesterday and need a day off. And we'll start today getting ready for a team that we do know something about, but not enough to feel real comfortable yet. We need these 2 days to prep for them.
Jacob?
Hey, Coach. Just wanted to ask you, you got another 5-game stretch here before SEC play. What are you hoping to learn about your team here? I know it's 1 game at a time, but what are you hoping to get accomplished before conference play starts?
Well, there's a few new styles. I mean, we're going to see a couple of unique styles in this stretch. Ones that'll help us get ready for different SEC teams than what the other ones have. We need to see this team get closer to being able to play 40 full minutes. I heard Coach Musk mention that last night in his press conference, and we're not unlike that as well. We had really good stretches in every game that we've played, and then we've had some stretches that weren't so good. So decreasing the ones that weren't so good, playing a fuller 40, close to 40 minutes. We need to shoot the ball a little better still from the arc or reduce the number. The numbers have been coming closer together. We've been making a few more. So I think by the time we get to SEC play, and I think this next series of games, do we have 5 left or 6 left? I've lost count. I think we have 6 left. Yeah. And all those 6 unique matchups, unique styles of plays, ones that we purposely went out and scheduled so that when the calendar turns, we'll be all SEC all the way through. But I'm looking forward to see what we have learned. I don't know yet. I won't know until maybe we see it. But I hope that we're starting to settle into some tendencies and not rely on the scout. Let's be who we are defensively. Let's not have lapses in rebounding. We've had some really good games and some games that is not as good. I was pretty hard on the team shortly after our game against UCLA until I went back and watched the film. And we didn't try any less harder against them than we did against Florida State. We had about the same try level. We chart that. It was not very far off. It was just she was getting them before we were. She was at 9 feet 10 inches, and we were at 9 feet 6 inches, and so I don't think our effort was any less. Our results were a little less, and it kind of glared. And I certainly think that was a huge part of the difference in that game, but it wasn't from our lack of effort. So continue the things we have been good at while we are in search of improving some of the things we need to be better at.
And then do you have an overall injury update? I know you said, what was it, 3 boots precautionary? How's the team looking health-wise going to Thursday?
They still walked in yesterday in those. And when you see a kid in a boot that they're playing, what that usually tells you is that it's just preventative. It's so that things don't get worse. It's so that you're not putting, they're walking to class, they're walking to get their nails done, their shop, whatever they're doing. They're not further stressing whatever it is that's ailing them. They're still able to compete. It also tells you that there's some pain that they're having to manage. There's some pain in that. I've only been in a boot one time in my life, and man, it feels when you've got it, it feels good on you want that thing because it feels really, really good with whatever injury you're having. So I don't think we've got anything that, most teams 9 games in, and we're 11 games because we had the 2 exhibitions, and today is practice number 47. Nothing to report as far as game practice limiting or game limiting.
And then the last thing for me, just to kind of follow up Ethan's question. I know we've talked a lot about Talia this year, but we asked her about, competitively what it was like to go against a guard trio as good as UCLA. And she talked about how much she loves that as a competitor going against future first round picks and all. What does it say about her competitive edge as a freshman that she not only looks forward to those matchups, but she thrives in them?
That she was ready. She prepared herself. She picked a school where she could get into those matchups early. I've had a lot of people ask me, why she chose Arkansas, and y'all can ask her that along the way. But I think she looked at past results of our guards and knowing that we are going to go play people. We talk about that in recruiting. You're going to play in the SEC, but that's not enough if you want to be in the WNBA someday. You need somebody, and you need some teams, and you need a program and coaches that are willing to let them do it in the non-conference. But, those competitive matchups, she's a kid that uses every opportunity to learn something. She's never satisfied. I mean, y'all can see it on her face. She has frustrations that when she doesn't perform, and it's because of the expectations she's always held herself to. I can promise you we don't ever have to encourage her to be competitive. That's kind of just what drew us to her when we went to watch her play the first couple times was, she was always in a bring it on mentality, and time score. If a drill's got a time and a score on it, there's a difference in her in practice. If we're just going through what I call ghost offense, she goes hard because she understands the value in it. But there's another level when we go, okay, we're keeping score. Then she's interested in the rules of the game and how we're going to score it and how can we maximize. So I think it talks to her, the grassroots programs that she grew up in playing, the places they took her to play. He always had her playing against the other team's best, the best people at the gym. She's had an upbringing, support system that's put her in challenging situations and demanded a lot. And I think that's why she responds like she does. And she does look for her. As soon as she gets that scout, she wants to know all the possible matchups, like not only who's going to be guarding her, but who she's going to be guarding. I know I've said this before, she earned her starting spot by the way she defended, not the way she shot, not the way she scored. And there's still a lot of work to do there. Everybody, we've all got a lot of work defensively, but her desire to embrace that part of it was what separated her from a lot of freshmen I've ever coached.
Dudley?
I know you signed 2 during the early recruiting period. Talk a little bit about those 2 signees, and also what will you be looking for in the spring signing, or do you just kind of figure that out as you go along?
Yeah. Well, I'll take your questions in reverse. The spring, I think this will probably be a year. The portal is something we explore a little more differently than we did last year, with who we'll have returning and position needs and all that. So, we're watching that. Not that there is a portal open now, but there are obviously a certain number of kids who have already expressed an interest in doing that. And you can kind of start to see some patterns. So we watch that. We add some names to the board every now and then, and we track on those things. We will look to add an immediate impact person is what I look for, Dudley. Somebody that's not going to have to come in and try out. If we bring somebody like when Destiny Slocum came here, there was no tryout period. It was what that was some of our current kids looking around going, that's who we would look for in the portal. Late signings, there's a couple of junior college players that we're looking at to see how they're developing. And then there's a couple of other kids from overseas that you just don't ever know with them whether they are going to decide to stay, play professionally, or come over. So we'll track on that. We talk to a lot of overseas contacts on a daily basis. I don't necessarily see adding another high school freshman, an incoming freshman, because I think we did our due diligence in scouring the country for anybody that might be available in that aspect of things. I like the two that we're bringing in. And then I'll kind of lead into that, talking about them in a second. But a transfer portal or a junior college kid may be late, Dud. And then as far as the signings, I'll go reverse order on that too. We got Jada Bates really late. She signed her paper on the day that it was due, but her ceremony, we held it. But really, if you go back and look at the story that Kylie put out about it, this was a kid that it wasn't your traditional recruiting, where I go watch her play a whole bunch and we write a bunch of letters and we text every day. And I saw her play against an opponent. We were watching another kid, and this kid kept kicking that team's butt. And I was like, we need to recruit her too. And we tried. We sent her a letter, and we sent all our September 1st packets. We made all our calls that you do that first month and a half to, try to see if there's any reciprocation in your interest. And there was zero, none. Which I've learned over the years. Sometimes that can mean they don't want to come to your school, or they're not ready to make that decision. You don't ever know. So we kind of kept sending stuff, but I didn't take one trip to see her. We didn't use one recruiting day. We didn't do anything above and beyond sending the normal stuff that a bunch of kids get. We go all the way through the process, and then we're kind of sitting around as people start releasing their lists of visits. That's usually when you really tell who's interested, where the kid's interested in. And I just never saw her name popping up on anybody. So I was like, hey, what's going on with Jada Bates? And Lacey made a few calls, and Pauline made a few calls. And next thing you know, hey, Coach, we love y'all. We've been watching y'all. We've been following you. We've been taking it slow. Just like that letter you wrote her on day one. You said that you weren't going to bother her, and you haven't. And I was like, oh, okay, well, it's not traditional. They said, we'd really like to come for a visit, though. I was like, okay. And you look at her list of offers, just go through her, her Facebook and or Instagram and Twitter, it's the who's who. There's, I think, 18 top 25 offers on there. So when she scheduled her visits, we were really encouraged. And after her visit, we were really excited because she fit in so good with our girls. They liked her. She liked them. She was our type of kid. They're our type of parents. They're our type of support. They communicate the way we like to communicate. And then, we were lucky enough to get her. Fans are going to love her. She is a combo kid. She's lanky. She can shoot it. She drives it. She's 6'3". She's fun. She's got a cool personality, and fans are going to love her. Phoenix, who committed, was the first commit. She's coming from the Netherlands. She's got a really cool background. Y'all will learn more about that as she gets over here. She's a combo guard. She can play any of our positions on the perimeter. She's got some international experience. She's been very heavily involved in our national teams. So even though she'll come in as a freshman, she'll be very experienced, but got a little wiggle to her game, maybe a cross between Mac and Sam if you're looking for an immediate comparison. and a neat kid that'll she'll liven Fayetteville up. That's for sure.
Appreciate it.
You got it.
And then Ethan.
Yeah, just one last question. I know her role has just changed a lot more as far as just usage this year, but Miriam, what have you liked from day one or game one to what you're seeing now? Seems like she's playing pretty confident recently.
I just brought her up to the office yesterday. She was coming in to get some treatment. So I just brought her up to tell her how much fun it's been to coach her, to see her confident. We've always had confidence in her, but you know, the days of saying you just give a kid confidence. It's a great line from Moneyball too. You know, just give him some confidence. You can't give anybody confidence. You can give them encouragement, but not confidence. So we had it in her, but to see her grow and have that confidence in herself is just, it's a lot of fun because she's a kid that everybody pulls for. Everybody wants to see do well. And it's been steady. She was really good the other night. I'll give you a great example. Like UCLA runs a tip play because they're used to getting the jump ball, right? So they've got a play they run where they screen and cut and pass and go. I said, Miriam, I said, if you win the jump ball, it ain't going to matter. And she jumped up. There's a great picture. I don't know if Noah got it. I don't know who got it, but she's this far above, you know, a kid that's 6'7". You know, and just it's a lot of fun. She's a kid that you can't help but pull for. She's the most encouraging teammate. We have broken her of one habit that I'm so happy about. During a live ball, she does not stop and help an opponent up anymore. You know, she was doing that early in her career and early in this year even. Opponent fell. During a live ball, I said, if it's dead ball, please, no problem. And maybe not even then, I guess. But like she would stop and pick them up in a live ball rather than run out ahead of her. So she's getting a little bit of a mean streak, but her game is starting to develop to where we all knew it could. I think she feels healthier than she's ever felt, probably since her injury. It takes people can say what they want about how long an ACL injury takes to recover from, and returning to play is different than recovered from. You may be able to return to play in 6 months or 9 months or whatever, but you're not the same for about 18 months to 2 years. You're really not. So it's been a lot of fun. And I'm glad you pointed that out and recognized her. We try to recognize it around here every time that we can. But I mean, I can't help but think if you're an opponent looking at her stat line that you have to make a plan for her. You know, I think UCLA was going to let her make a certain number of threes before they brought the big kid out away from the basket. Maybe that number was one more. I don't know. But I would think she's got to be a part of what every opponent is preparing for now.
Thanks.
Yep.
Great. Anyone else?
Let me jump in with one quick. You mentioned a couple times needing to shoot the ball better, and I think you've talked about shot selection. Where do you find the balance between believing that you will shoot better and kind of continuing on versus a few tweaks here and there so that you're kind of not at 37% or a little bit higher?
Well, if we're at 37%, I'll be jumping up and down. That's a good that number will keep you in the top 15 in the country. I think we're hovering around.
Well, you're 37 from the field, you're 30 from three. So obviously, you want better on both.
37 is too low for us to get deep. That number's got to come up. And 30, we need to be closer to 35, 36 from the three. But to answer your question, Brett, it's when it stops going in practice. I mean, they're going in practice. We're making them in practice. We're just not translating them to games. And there's a lot of factors that can go into that. As long as we keep making them in practice, I'm going to allow us to keep shooting them in games because I know it's there. It's a matter of getting comfortable. Some of it is selection because with shooting threes, you know, if you take a hard three-pointer, that's going to affect the next time you're open. Like if you take a shot that nobody in the world makes except Steph Curry or Diana Taurasi or whoever you want to pick, Kelsey Plum, whoever you want to pick, the next time that you're wide open, that shot's harder because you just missed the one that was tough. So I think by eliminating those really, really hard ones, when we do get the open shots, I think you'll see those numbers going up. Now, if we start not making those shots in practice, then I will either take players out who are taking shots that they haven't made in practice or design a little bit of different action, take some actions away that lead to those. But as long as a player is making shots in practice, I'm going to allow them to take those shots in games. Now, if they're taking a bunch of shots in games that we've never practiced, that's where I've got to do some coaching. And I think it takes more than 10 games. You know, it does. I think some of our kids will take a bad shot or two, but that's okay because it leads to shots that they make later in the year, later in the game, later in their career. And if they have to constantly be looking over their shoulder, second guessing whether I'm coming out of the game or not, I don't think any player ever plays to their potential. So I have to be comfortable with allowing for a few in-game mistakes to teach. I know people get impatient that are fans and all that, but hang with us. It becomes worth it. You know, with Talia specifically, I'm using Kelsey as a great, I'm giving her updates through 7 games, through 8 games, through 9 games, what Kelsey's path looked like. And although they're completely different kids in different styles of games, I think it's a fair comparison for Talia to look at and understand that we're going to allow some of these things now in the delayed gratification of what we're going to get when she's a junior or senior. And for our fans, let's just, for a more recent, they'll talk about Lexus Tollfree. You know, Tollfree's junior year, she shot 27% from the 3-point line. And I got constantly harassed by friends of mine about her shot selection. I'm not talking about people that don't know. I'm talking about people that do know basketball. And they're like, Coach, she's going to shoot y'all out of stuff. I said, just be patient. And her senior year, she's first team all conference and those shots go in. The same shots everybody didn't want her to take, everybody was putting on their, you know, their Instagram stories. Look at this, you know. So you've got to be patient. And I think our style allows for that as players. I think you hear our players talk about it when y'all talk to them about the freedom to do the things in games that we work on in practice.
All right. Are we good? Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See y'all.